Fortnite Chapter 4 is finally over. And while some people loved it, a lot of people didn't, and I just decided to stay quiet because, well, I don't want comments telling me I couldn't do any better. Because I could, and I did. Welcome to our new and improved Fortnite Chapter 4 Reality 1, where we remade the entire map, custom live events, and we even got a full soundtrack and voice acting. This whole thing started when a good friend of mine, Rafu Comics, was messaging me about a Chapter 4 map concept. The actual Chapter 4 was just about 2 months away from releasing, and this thing had taken the internet completely by storm. By that, I mean CypherPK, Allie, Typical Gamer, everyone was talking about this map, and Rafu wanted me to write the story for it. At this point in the concept, he had already released the full first season, and it looked absolutely phenomenal. It followed a story where the Seven did survive, and they escaped the Chrome by traveling through time. Before someone says that we stole the time travel idea from the actual game, we didn't. We made this story way before Chapter 4 even released, but Rafu wanted my help to make it even better. So I got to work on creating an awesome second season for this series. I started by playing around with a concept that I've always found pretty interesting. It's this idea of adding my own story elements to Fortnite live events that everyone knows and loves. Take the butterfly event for example. In the actual story, Kevin the Cube explodes and we're taken to a realm called the In-Between. In my story, the In-Between used to be home to a massive island, but when the cube exploded, that world was destroyed, leaving this white empty space that we see in the event. To restore this empty space to its former glory, a plan is initiated to reset time, back to a moment where the cube shards hadn't yet gotten into the In-Between, ultimately meaning the island inside was never destroyed. Even after resetting time itself, the island came back, but the cube didn't leave. It was connected to a force stronger than time and space itself, known as the Nothing, which meant that we needed some serious help from characters that everyone knows and loves. Think back to the days of Chapter 1, Season 7 and 8. We had Polar Peak, the Ice King, the Volcano, the overpowered Infinity Blade, and some amazing clips of Mongraal.
Hey, GG's, bro! Sing, 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 sing!
All of this was part of a story that Fortnite had never really explained, meaning that job was up to me and it was perfect. I'd bring in these super interesting characters that everybody loved but didn't know much about, and I would explain them, give them character, and there was just one very slight problem. I needed a damn good voice actor for the Fire King.
So I've had the pleasure of working with Tedious for a really long time in other projects, but this was the first time he was putting a story together, and I was honored that he felt confident enough in my ability to voice act to let me try a couple of different voices. The Fire King was always one of the more interesting and intriguing characters to me in the Fortnite storyline, but the one that I think has captivated me the most and the one I enjoyed voice acting the most was hands down the Nothing. Like, the overall concept of that character and the way Tedious brought him to life through the dialogue was really interesting. I also have to say that's probably some of the most fun I've had voice acting ever. The way I came up with that voice was entirely accidental, and it was really exciting to see my voice on screen in his production. I love the way that Reality 1 turned out, but I think it was a good test for some things we have planned for the future, and I can't wait for you guys to see what we have in store for you coming up, because it's going to be really dope when you see it.
Having Clark work with me on this project was really just super fun, and if you want to see what we're working on for the future, subscribe to the channel and drop a like on the video because you won't want to miss any of this. Including voice acting into a series like this allowed my videos to showcase in-game questlines that were voice acted by the Fire King. This included collecting parts of the cube, figuring out how they came to the island, ultimately building up to a battle with the Storm King, who the cubes brought in as a last resort. This allowed our story to connect to save the world, which is something that everyone has wanted for quite a while, and Epic wouldn't do it, so I did, and it turned out awesome. Now, Season 3 aimed to tell a story of fire and ice going against darkness, a battle of the elements. Again, that's something Fortnite never really explored, and voice acting made it all the more possible for us to do, which really just got me all the more hyped for Season 4 of this series. Because, I mean, this season was just packed. We had the Fire King, we had the Cube Queen, we had characters literally getting murdered, until Towards the end, we even brought in Midas, which was really fun to do and really cool to see fans react to because for some reason everybody just loves this guy. This story and this island was really starting to come together and it was amazing to see. We'd managed to attach a fan base to it, which is something many feel like Chapter 4 really just kind of failed to do. I mean, look, it had amazing graphics and really unique different POIs and biomes, but stuff just felt like it was happening for the sake of it. Every new season there was essentially a new story with new characters, and the focus was always a new biome which we weren't familiar with at all. In our series, we managed to write the story in pretty much the opposite way, maintaining the same lovable set of characters while still making it engaging. But I'll give credit where credit is due, Fortnite has managed to tell their story in an engaging way through live events, which we introduced to our series in seasons 5 and 6. Instead of having quests where players would be limited to the island, we wanted to make this thing into a full story game. It was actually designed to work in a similar way to Fortnite events such as Operation Skyfire, where it was sort of like a questline, but it wasn't limited to a 22-minute battle royale match. Because we had a big story to tell. Midas had just allied with the Fire King to take down the Nothing by flooding the island, and this was a little reference to when the Cube Queen exploded in the Chapter 2 end event purely because of water, and now we just needed a way to flood the island in real time. So after messing around in creative mode and having a few badly failed attempts, we did get there in the end, and the flood event came out with a pretty impressive result, which would lead into the final season of the series, Season 6. So far, throughout the 4 episodes that I had worked on, we'd seen the Fire King team up with the Imagined Order to take down the last reality, and now he alone had to take on the threat of the Nothing itself. But how would he do that? How would I write that? How would I create the perfect ending to a story that had been going on for almost half a year? And then it hit me. This final episode simply just needed to be massive, and the way I chose to do that was by taking it across many different realities. That's something Fortnite Quest had never done ever, and I was going to be the one to change that. I spent countless hours designing 4 very unique worlds that the player would visit to completely weaken the Nothing. This included disrupting events, causing huge explosions, and ultimately leading to the finale of the entire series. I won't spoil how the story goes because after this video, I'm sure you want to see it for yourself, but there are a few key elements that really stand out, and they're worth mentioning because it seems like Epic Games may have just noticed them too. In the first of the 4 worlds that this video takes place in, the Looper travels across time to a temple which contains a dangerous artifact. The second reality reveals this artifact to be a golden mythic flopper, and in Fortnite story they also had a character, Kato Thorn, travel across time to steal the exact same thing, but this one just has to be a coincidence. It literally can't be anything more than that. To make this episode bigger and to make it a great finale, I wanted to add more relatable and enjoyable characters. Throughout the seasons, the Fire King had made new friends like Midas and the Cube Queen, and he'd lost others at the same time, and in Season 5, it really seemed like he had no one other than himself. So I decided to bring in an icon, a character who is silent but has made such a big impact. A soldier that's always stood by our side as he stands by the Fire King in Season 6 of Reality 1. It's the Visitor. He's been there from the start, and it only felt right to bring him into this story at its end. But then, I needed a voice actor for him as well. This one was such an easy choice. I picked That Nerd Chris, who has an amazing voice for the character. It makes the Visitor feel really fun, kind of like the Scientist, despite the fact that most of the time he's shy and silent. As a result of the Fire King and the Visitor changing the timeline and messing with reality in all ways possible, the island begins to morph into the Chapter 1 map, and Chapter 4 of Fortnite story also took us back to that same place. How weird. The final really weird coincidence is honestly quite funny because I know Epic didn't steal this, but it's just so similar. To tease our final season, we set our Twitter locations as the word home, as that was the title of our season to end Reality 1. And Donald Mustard did the exact same thing for Fortnite OG, so maybe our chapter was just so good that even Epic Games decided to take some inspiration. Look, I highly doubt it, but regardless, I absolutely loved working on this whole series. Working on anything like this is always so amazing, and none of it would be possible without the help of everybody involved. They're all on screen right now, and they're linked in the description, so now you can go and watch the series for yourself. And as Clint said, it's only a test for some much bigger projects that we have planned for the future.